On average, most people take 1,000 posts to get their first line or at least get good or like make their first million. It took me about 200 posts to make my first million. Literally scaled my business to over 2 million without ads. This is the only barrier in between you and scaling your business organically through content on LinkedIn. Like the opportunity is insane. LinkedIn is better for quality than quantity. Like you can post less and make more money. Basically 4 posts every single week for your personal brand. It's not 5, not 6, not 7, not 10, like every other social media guru will ever tell you. Here's like what a good LinkedIn post looks like. So usually you start with a hook, you do a re-hook, which is the second line, and then a lead, the body, the big final lesson, and the call to action. Because the main thing that's actually led me to the most financial success when it comes to my products and services and all of these different offers is actually email. So out of all the platforms, if you were to tell me which one would you keep, I would say my email list, 100%. I've not had the need to do any outbound ever for the last 3.5 years, all because of my email list and also my personal brand that's allowed me to be fully inbound.
Everyone, welcome back to the show. Today's guest is the co-founder of Clio, the founder of Literally Academy. She's a content powerhouse who has mastered the art of building an audience and converting that audience into pipeline and revenue. Her newest venture, Clio, is designed to help other creators capture inspiration, ideas, knowledge, and turn them into posts that sound like you. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Lara Acosta. Lara, welcome to the show.
Hello, big fan.
Hey, as are we. So we're thrilled to have you here. I have so much to cover. You are you're a budding mogul now. You have 2 businesses that I have questions on. So we got a lot to cover here. But I guess to start, this is how I always like to start. Could you tell us a little bit about your businesses, who your customer is, how you help them? And I know you got 2 to cover. So just to give the audience some context.
Yeah, so basically on LinkedIn, I built 4 different businesses. So 1 agency, 2 info products or education business led, and then a SaaS, B2B SaaS. They all actually serve the exact same customer at the same time, just at different levels of the ladder of like where they are in their life. So mostly it is founders, B2B founders and CEOs, also creators and entrepreneurs. So founder-led creators. So it all fits within the same umbrella, which I am very lucky about. So if you're a CEO, if you're a founder, if you do B2B business, this podcast will help you in some way.
Amazing. I am always fascinated how people who start multiple businesses like yourself sort of go from one idea to the next. And you sort of alluded to it, right? Like you are, at the end of the day, you are going after a similar audience amongst these different businesses. Was this a case where, like, as you were kind of building one venture, another problem or potential solution sort of came out of the ether or out of feedback or customer conversation, and that sort of is what led you down this line to multiple ventures?
I was just following the money. I think that the
That's the best
agency
answer.
started by accident, and then the education info business started as a way to scale it faster. And then the B2B software actually happened again by accident. It was just like I had enough information and education and value to add to hop in as a co-founder of this SaaS that one of my best friends who I met on LinkedIn was building. And so I actually had this rule of like the rule of one business, one problem, one person. And I used to judge quite heavily people that would have multiple businesses at the same time because I thought it was ultimately the biggest distractor, which it is most of the time. But I think after 3-4 years of being in business and doing it well, I managed to find some sort of like an opening for me to still be able to remain within my zone of genius whilst, doing different things at the same time. Um, Clio is the most different one, but it's still within my realm of capabilities and capacities.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious. So I love this idea of the rule of one. That is so good because I feel like a lot of founders, and I've certainly I've been in positions where I've fallen prey to this, but where we try to like feature stack and just add more and more and try to be everything for everyone. And like that tends to be where the vision starts for a lot of folks. And yours is very opposite of that. I'm curious if you ever had the pull to maybe for one of these businesses start it under an existing venture. So let's say maybe the SaaS to start under the agency or have more, kind of interconnectivity between them. Was there ever an itch to do that?
I always have an itch to do everything, especially agency wise. Like I had the agency at the start. That was my first business. So it was a personal brand and ghostwriting agency. For those that don't know, I scaled it to six figures within my first year and I was still at university. But I had to drop it out because I couldn't handle the hiring of what it pertains to be an agency owner and scaling. And so I sort of like shut it down in a way. I still have clients from the agency time that we still take care of now. But I still today have the itch to build it again because the agency world just seems so fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. So and I hear you. I think agencies are interesting because like services don't require this massive infrastructure to start up, and virtually like, I mean, there's an endless like kind of constantly refiltering or pool of those clients who like do need whatever the services are. I mean, especially if we're talking about marketing services, like pretty much every business wants to grow. The landscape of how we do reach out to people changes, but the principles stay the same. And I think that is like what agencies help out with best is like helping people navigate sort of a new sort of like awareness engine or whatever it might be. Um, so let's kind of shift into this topic of awareness. So like I have some questions about your just your crazy growth on social media. Now you have, let's see, like 300K follower. I'm gonna kind of talk you up a bit. So just hope you're okay with that. 300K followers on LinkedIn. I see you had like another 50,000 on Instagram. You're growing your YouTube channel. I believe you have some people on X too. You're really across the board, which is just like it's hard enough to get traction on one platform, but to then cross into multiple mediums is crazy. So um, I think for a lot of founders who are listening to this or marketers, they might be feeling a little daunted by the idea of growing social. So I'm curious, like I saw some stats. You can feel free to correct me if they're a little incorrect, but you're about to cross 200K monthly revenue. You sent zero cold emails. Is that all right?
Yeah, we actually crossed it already, and then my other business, Clio, is about to hit uh 200K if we still go. We have 2 weeks to hit it. We are at 180K monthly revenue for B2B SaaS, so that's not recurring, but we hit 100K this month, and the other business does between 100K to 200K a month, and yeah, so I would say that to anyone looking at me and looking at all that distribution, I would say ignore it because the main thing that's actually led me to the most financial success when it comes to my products and services and all of these different offers is actually email. So out of all the platforms, if you were to tell me which one would you keep, I would say my email list, 100%. I've not had the need to do any outbound ever for the last 3.5 years, four all because of my email list and also my personal brand that's allowed me to be fully inbound.
That's incredible. Um, and we're getting a little, just a comment on that. Yeah. Okay, cool. You're ahead of it. So that's awesome. Now, when it comes to building your email list, so right, like there's different ways to use email. You can be building a list and sending out newsletter style, which is more templated and yeah, it's a newsletter. There are other folks who are out there with multiple email addresses in the inbox rotation, inbox warm up, sort of one-to-one email outreach. What is the tactic within email that you found success with? Is it the building a list and newsletter style of email?
Yeah, none of that, like warming up different
Yeah.
email lists. Like I think that is a very cold email outbound type approach. I've never used it, so I couldn't talk about it. But the way I've done it is I simply built a newsletter based on my LinkedIn following. So one of the things that I had to learn very early on in my career was the fact that you don't own your audience on any of these social media platforms, and so you need to own it when like you need to start owning it. And the fastest way to do it is via a newsletter. And so I just send the weekly newsletter to my list, and then when it comes time to have an offer, when we launched Clio, for example, like we were marketing to them consistently, but in order to grow it and keep it nurtured, a weekly educational value led piece is in fact the most useful thing when you're literally not selling anything, but you're just giving value that actually makes someone's life slightly easier or they learn something new. And so that's what we've done. And I've done massively for all of my businesses. And that's why, again, 75% of my revenue comes from email directly.
That's awesome. How can I ask how many people are on your email list these days?
Between I think 45, 50K last time I checked.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And
Yeah, and I think like
it
yeah.
was all because of LinkedIn, like literally LinkedIn, and we ran some ads, but I just actually I hate ads. So mostly literally organic LinkedIn is what grew my email list.
And is that through posting, like having a post and the call to action at the bottom being grow my email list, or what does
No,
that look
no, no,
like?
no, 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 no. Don't do that. I think that's such an outdated way to do it. I've managed to grow my email list so fast because of lead magnets. Call to actions today on LinkedIn are actually, I think, what makes boys perform so badly. And that this is why also people stay broke online. They think that by posting content and then having a CTA of like, hey, subscribe to my newsletter, or hey, join my offer, that's how you're gonna get leads. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It probably looks bad. So what I would recommend is, instead of trying to do that, use my 4-3-2-1 method, which I'll explain. Is like 4 posts a week, 3 types of content every single week as well, and then 2 types of audiences: your ICP and your ideal follower persona. So your ICP, for example, is your ideal client, but your ideal follower is someone, let's say like me, who is interested in B2B SaaS. I may not buy your SaaS today, but I'll buy in a year's time when I need it. And then one lead magnet every single week, instead of like thinking that you have to do them every single time and feeling the need that you need to promote your lead magnet every day. I think 1 post a week of a lead magnet is more than enough to grow steadily or fast.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's a couple questions in the chat here I want to rip through, and then I would love to look at this 4-3-2-1 method in action. If maybe you wanted to share your screen and pull up your LinkedIn account, is that cool to do?
Sure.
All right, cool. Someone asked, do you have you experimented with webinars at all? Is that like one of the things you steer people to?
Oh yeah, webinars and email literally changed my life. I do a webinar a month for my products, and then for Clio, actually, we found that email and webinar have been the biggest contributors to revenue, because you're selling at scale and you're building trust at scale, and you also get to demo in person to a massive audience. So the best way to run a webinar though is having a big email list that you can market to, because we found statistically, I found that conversion to from LinkedIn to webinar is harder than conversion from email to webinar, because you get to send them reminders and you get to approach them very differently. And I think if you're consistently promoting webinars, like if I do one a month, and if I just promote it on LinkedIn, it would just become too salesy of a platform for me, and like I would lose my personal brand part. It would just become a sales um machine, and we don't want to do that with personal brands. So the way we do it is maybe 1 post or 2 posts about the webinar, then try and get all our email list readers into the webinar, and then have a sequence for those that subscribe to the webinar, and actually have like separate different sequences for them. But yeah, webinars are incredible. Like I love webinars so much.
Yeah, I mean, we're clearly fans of it too. That's helped us. It's also helped us grow our email list really quickly. I mean, we have God, how many people are on the newsletter? I think it's like maybe like 60,000 these days or so. And the show has been like a really big part of that. I think something you said, which it's just so it seems so obvious, but it's so hard to put into practice. And that's that, like, you don't want your personal brand or everything that you're shouting out into the world to be like, buy my thing, buy my thing. I think a lot of people will even start certain marketing motions, and the only call to action is to like either sign up or like book a demo. And that's where I feel like the kind of everything you're doing is the more proper way to build. There's the old stat that, God, I might misquote it, but like at any given time, 97% of your audience is not in market to buy. And you nailed it with the concept. It's like, okay, when they are ready to buy, I'm going to be the first one they think about, because there's probably some email or lead magnet or post that they saw recently of me. Like I've already been in the back of their mind for a while. I think that further emphasizes the point of like not selling all the time. If most of your market is not ready to buy, well, then you need to deliver value still, and you need to do that with something that isn't your product. It could be something related to your product, but you still have to give them value some way. Um, so yeah, let's I would love to dive into your LinkedIn a little bit if you wanted to kind of show us a little bit of like the 4-3-2-1 in action, maybe just kind of highlighting a couple of posts and then also highlighting a couple of lead magnets. And this can just be a totally free flowing kind of share. So no structure to it. No pressure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull something up. So if you want to ask me a question in the meantime.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna just read a couple from the chat. What email tool do you use to send a newsletter? We use Beehive over here. What are you using?
I use Beehive for sure. It's the
All
best tool
right.
for email
Well,
newsletters.
Joseph, you got your answer. You got double the answer. Beehive. There's other great tools out there, but I definitely love it. Let's see. Highest converting lead magnets in terms of sales. That's interesting. Maybe we'll wait until you pull up your LinkedIn for that. But like, are
I
there
think if you're looking for that, it is just my lead magnets are not for sales, they're for email growth specifically. We do not track email to lead magnet to sell because I don't do specific campaigns for that. Like my goal with lead magnets is to grow the list, and then whenever it's necessary for me to sell, we sell, and then we do track sales per email. But I don't have hires, so I actually don't know how much that is attributed to that. I actually don't know how to use it, or like we haven't implemented it. But I think it's also the wrong way to see lead magnets if you're thinking about growth of email lists. I think it is more valuable to know that you have a big list of people that are interested and then being able to sell to them on the back of, rather than seeing a lead magnet as a single source of income and revenue for your business. I also saw another post, a comment here. Does a 4-3-2-1 work if you're not a very attractive female? I don't know, Terry. Maybe you should try it. And let us know what you think. Such a funny comment. Okay. So I have a presentation here because I think it's better to show you as a presentation rather than show you the post, because it'll take me a while. So the 4-3-2-1 is basically 4 posts every single week for your personal brand. It's not 5, not 6, not 7, not 10, like every other social media guru will ever tell you. This is why I chose LinkedIn as my domain platform, because LinkedIn is better for quality than quantity. Like you can post less and make more money if you know how to write well. And if you look at how these posts are structured, you can see a very dialed in type of formatting, which if you guys have spent a week on LinkedIn, you will see that the formatting does matter, because I call this the TikTokification of LinkedIn, where you're fighting for attention. It's like we're in the middle of an attention arbitrage at all times. And so in order to win attention, you need to retain it. And the best way to retain it is by being succinct and having some rhythm and flow to your content, which makes it easily digestible and skimmable. So that is like these lines kind of like showcase how that is done. So like one line space is not because it's kind of like cringy, which it is when you start fast reading LinkedIn. You're like, why are these posts formatted like this? Like, why do the sentences end so abruptly? And it's because of retention and scammability. If you guys have done skimmability, if you guys have done a landing page, you guys will be, you guys will understand the F shape reading pattern, where there was a study that was conducted where people looked at heat maps of like eyes looking at the landing page, and they discovered that it was an F because people were just skimming the information, they weren't just reading it. So when you do your content, it should be like that. And then the 3 is for the 3 types of content that you should create. So Number one is total addressable markets. Number two is expert-led content. And number three is growth content, which I'll get into in a second. Then the two is the ICP, the two types of audiences. So your ICP, which everybody should, know who their ICP is. But the second one is the thing that most people actually know, which is their IFP, their ideal follower persona. So like I was saying earlier, you may want to get 100,000 followers, right? But only about 5% of them will be your ideal clients at that point in time. However, you never know who of your ideal follower, so like maybe an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, may become your ideal buyer in the future if you nurture them through content, which is important to note. And they also are the ones that support you the most. And then one lead magnet a week. So every single week, just choose a date where you are going to push a lead magnet in order to build your newsletter and also for you to not suffer with like single platform danger of like your LinkedIn could be banned at any time, you could get this restricted or like something like that. So that for me is de-risking. So here's like what a good LinkedIn post looks like. And if you remember what I said earlier about this skimmability, this is how you do it. So usually you start with a hook, you do a re-hook, which is the second line, and then a lead, the body, the big final lesson, and the call to action. So all of this is perfectly formatted for someone to literally look at it, get a few points in, save it, share it with a friend, and then come back to it later, which is the entire point of content at the end of the day, is how do we get attention, how do we retain it, and how do we get them to come back next time? And I'm just gonna whiz through this quickly and you can ask me some questions after. But okay, so growth content is essentially the content that will make you an authority fast. So for me, talking about hiring, Gen Z, AI, etc., is a topic of interest between, it's in the cusp and in the inflection point between people that may not be my client but could be, and people that are. So like they want me to talk about hiring, they want me to talk about productivity, they want me to talk about AI. So this post is like I hired a Gen Z candidate without interviewing them. So that's a broad enough piece of content that anyone could engage in. However, but it's still very niche because it still positions me as an entrepreneur. And then total addressable market content is how you actually grow an audience quite quickly. So most people are either currently wanting to go viral or they want to get more followers faster and they're currently stuck. And the reason why is because they're not doing enough total addressable market. So any SEOs here will know about TAM and like all of these things. So TAM for me on LinkedIn is how do I tackle common asked questions or keywords that are used on the platform so I can gain a bigger audience where you're talking about hiring, you're talking about productivity again, you're talking about executive leadership, you're talking about remote work. So at all times, any LinkedIn user will find this somewhat engaging because it's a topic that they're interested in, because every single professional on LinkedIn, has hired, is hiring, wants to get hired, works remotely, hates remote work, wants to work remotely, like all of these things. So we need to take that into account. And then expert-led content is the niche content that is about your expertise only. So someone that does this incredibly well is Adam. So like Adam has become a very good case study for what expert-led content looks like. So he talks about social proof, he talks about his specific niche, he talks about B2B SaaS, he talks about agency stuff, and he gives numbers and he references Clay, etc. So that is one of the ways I would sort of like grow my LinkedIn in 2026.
Amazing. I have a couple questions. So to start, so you have 4 posts going out over the course of 7 days every week. Are there specific days that you omit
No.
or specifically post?
No, don't. Like, it
Is
doesn't
it
matter. I think posting days are a myth.
okay?
Yeah,
There we go.
it's the best way for our guru to look, legit. Like, oh, this guru said Saturdays are the worst day to post. Like, no, the best day to post is the day that you actually can post. So
I like that. I also know that, I mean, I think a lot of us have seen the LinkedIn algorithm change a little bit in recent history. Posts to live a little bit longer. Like if you scroll through your LinkedIn feed, you will see posts from further back in time. Now I'm talking maybe a week or so than you used to. Like, so posts kind of, especially ones with traction, sort of live on for longer than they used to, which is interesting. And I think that further affirms your the day doesn't matter philosophy. If it's going to be living on people's feeds for all 7 days anyway, at least, then it really doesn't matter, I guess. Um, when it comes to, so you talked about the ICP versus IFP, right? The ideal customer profile versus your ideal follower persona. When you're writing your forward posts per week, are there specific types of posts, say your lead magnet posts, that are for one of those buckets as opposed to the other?
Um, hmm. Interesting question. Depends. So it is part of my strategy, but depends if I'm selling. So if like I run my content like a sprint. So I'll do launch sprints where I'll specifically talk about one of my offers, and then that content is specifically tailored to my ICP. But for the majority of the time, like 90% of the time that I spend on LinkedIn posting, so like that 90% of the year, my content is actually for my IFP, and my IFP is the same exact thing as my ICP, just the ICP can buy and my IFP can't buy. So doing beginner style content is for my ICP, but then my ideal client will also resonate with that. So it doesn't really hurt anything. It actually just makes me more relatable. So when I talk about storytelling and I talk about me being rejected from university, that is talking to my IFP because it's not a sales post. But then my ideal client will see that and they will resonate with me and they would want to buy from me more because maybe they see something in me that they don't see in any of my competitors. So there's no date, there's no time. It just depends on the launch, or if I have an offer that needs to be promoted, then it's very specific to my ideal client persona.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, yeah, you have this down to a science. That's crazy. It's like it's really amazing. Um, and folks, the screen share that Laura just showed will be on the recording. I know she ripped through a lot of content quickly. And it's I feel like everyone should watch that like 5 times just to like really wear all of those facts that you just dropped. So thank you for doing that. That was amazing. Um, I'd love to dive a little bit more into lead magnets because I think this is a thing that people struggle with. Like, I think all creators, especially in the beginning, I think less so as you start to get the hang of it, but do struggle with a bit of writer's block, understanding what to share. Something you shared too was sort of the specific styles of posts and the spacing of ideas that is really necessary on LinkedIn. I know I'll talk to sort of more early stage creators, and they'll be a little they'll have some heartburn over spacing and constructing their ideas that way because they'll say, well, that doesn't sound like me, like I would never write like that. My response is always, well, we just need to get traction on LinkedIn. Like every platform is going to cater to or is going to give traction to specific styles of writing or content. Do you have a word of advice for the people who feel that that spacing is very not authentic to how they would write?
Do you want to be authentic or do you want to get clients for your business? That's my question.
There you go. That's all that needs to be said.
I think if you want to play the game, play it. Or like if you don't want to play the game, don't play it, but don't complain that people are winning. At the start, obviously, I thought LinkedIn was incredibly cringe. Like I saw a post of a cat going viral, and then we all know crying CEO also went viral for no reason, and like he got a ton of clients off the back of it. And it's like if I had to sit down in an office for 10 hours cold calling, or I could just space my lines, have a little bit of cringe, but then get inbound leads, I'm certain that I will choose to space my lines at any point. So that's my logic. It doesn't matter. I think you get used to it as well. And actually it becomes enjoyable because you're sort of mastering succinct and concise writing, which is a skill. Learning how to write and developing the habit of writing every day can change your life as a person because you get to understand your thoughts even better. And like I think is the Feynman method or something, where the better you are at explaining something simply in a short space of time, the more intelligent you seem, and it does spill over across your life. So I definitely do it. There's no downside.
I completely agree. I think that I think to anyone who is like really feeling that fear, I would challenge them to just do like 3 posts like that and just relieve themselves the anxiety that something bad is going to happen from that, from spacing out your ideas, right? Like when you say it like that, it sounds pretty benign. I also, there's a George Orwell quote. I believe it's George Orwell. And he said, never use a big word where a small word will do. And I think it's just this entire idea of being concise, and how that not, I mean, I that's so interesting that like kind of psychologically it makes you appear smarter, but it also just like it makes you easier to understand. And like in the world of marketing copy and like marketing language and messaging, I mean, that is pretty much the only goal. We want to be clear and easy to understand. We don't want it to take an essay for people to understand what we do. Ideally, they can figure it out within a few words. We had our guest last week. Their hero message was it was hunter.io. And their hero message was four words long. Hunter is a prospecting tool. You can use it to find leads, use it for email outreach. And their hero statement is connect with any professional. And I just thought that was great. It's like, yeah, that's all that needs to be said. No, of course, there's more copy underneath, but like, I mean, how great of a quick hero. Um, okay, let's chat lead magnets. There's different styles of lead magnets. I think 10 years ago, we were all drowning in ebooks that no one would read. What are you seeing today? And people do read good ebooks. I don't mean to throw the ebook under the bus here. But what are the types of lead magnets you're really interested in today that you found a lot of success with? I'll give you one example of mine before I have the answer, but I've been very obsessed with micro apps and microsites and turning sort of like PDFs into more interactive pieces of content. I think it's just an amazing thing we can do these days with AI. And that's what I've been pretty obsessed with, but I'm curious to hear from you.
I think that there's no best way to do anything today. Like it's all about testing and iterating. But like you said, there is such an opportunity right now for even SaaS products to become lead magnets. We've recently launched a lot of GPT bots as lead magnets, so they're trained on me, etc. So definitely that. But I think at the end of the day, whatever your ideal customer has a pain point on, it can be an insane lead magnet. I don't want people to watch this and hear me say, oh, you should do ChatGPT projects or ChatGPT rapid thingy, whatever. And that should be your lead magnet, because it should be many things. Like there is no one winning lead magnet. The best people have multiple lead magnets and you can test them over a period of time. My best performing lead magnet to date is a 7-day email course, because we get to sort of like warm them up into a sequence rather than just giving it away for free and then never really hearing back. But then on the opposite, my first lead magnet that got me my first 5,000 subscribers onto newsletter was a simple playbook, and it was an ebook. So I saw a comment here is like ebooks need to go away, but in reality, if the ebook is truly captivating for someone, it does solve a problem that is burning for them, then it can't stay. And it's never been easier to build, ebooks with ChatGPT and AI. Granted that they're like factual and they are personal and not just, you prompt ChatGPT to make you a PDF on B2B SaaS. But if it's made with your insights, then absolutely. I just saw that Gamma is about to launch, an integration with Claude where you can literally make a lead magnet within Claude and then connect it to Gamma and then it makes it for you. That's another great way to make a lead magnet. Simple Loom is a great lead magnet. Like anything that you do can be turned into a lead magnet if you're able to dress it up as such and if it's valuable. But there's no best way to do a lead magnet. There's no best lead magnet style. It's just like best thing that gets your audience from pain to relief as fast as possible, and so they can trust you as well. And then don't make them too long, don't make them too complicated, make them about one specific pain point, and then make multiple if there's multiple pain points as well.
I think a common theme we've been talking about is really just like quality, right? Like you want people to expect something of quality from you. And it's like if you were an artist or a musician and you were putting out 100 songs a week, but only one of them was amazing, like chances are no one's going to find that one. because it's just flooded in this nonsense that no one, like, people are sort of just become used to accepting that most of what you put out there is going to be nonsense. Um, I have this thing that I say often, which is like the go to market playbook that will work for you is the one that you write on your own. And I think the you're very much embodying that where you're saying, hey, there's not one style, there's not one particular like channel necessarily. Like you need to find something that works really well for you that you can execute on, that you have high ability to do, and just focus on making like your messaging and whatever you're sending out through that channel amazing. And I love that. I have a question about the email one, not to contradict my own points and summary there, but what was the medium that you used to deliver that 7-day course? Was it an email drip over 7 days? Was it an ebook, a Loom video?
We use Klaviyo to integrate it, but I've also used Beehive. So it's just simply go into Beehive or go into Klaviyo and set up a 7-day, drip, and that's it. And then we have a landing page on Webflow. We now have it on Pablo, which is a tool that hasn't come out that we use internally for creating landing pages. But I think people keep asking the wrong questions, like use Beehive, use Klaviyo, use Kit, and then do it. I'm a very much action focused person. I think that pick the lead magnet, a 7-day email course may not be feasible for most people because it's a lot of work. I only did it after like 3 years of being in business. So I think the best lead magnets that you can do today, literally PDF, attach it to Beehive. Second is a Loom, like a 20-minute Loom for you of you walking through a Miro board. And the third one is a Google Doc. Like one of my best also lead magnets was literally a LinkedIn playbook for 2025. It was called the Winter Arc, and I broke down every single content strategy that people need, etc. So I would do that instead of trying to figure out and breaking your heads with like how to automate and get a 7-day lead magnet going.
Yeah, I think that is like such a common thing with people getting ahead of themselves. Like I have this belief that
I'm also dropping it. I'm dropping the lead magnet here so you guys can see how it was framed and can subscribe to it if you want to see how
heck,
I did it. So yeah.
thank you for dropping that in. I'm also going to include that in the YouTube description as well. Oh, this is awesome, man. I you're saying something really interesting, which is like you're looking at the comments here, and we see these every week where people will say things like, should I run ads, should I use email marketing? And it's like I can't answer that. And ultimately, like, marketing is part art and part science. And I think from the very early stages of a founder's go to market motion, they will try to build for scale and almost try to do it in like one fell swoop a little bit and try to like build this master engine. When in reality, you really don't know what's going to work. And you really need to take the artistic approach of trying to make something great that you think is compelling towards the person that you're going, trying to target, and just seeing what works instead of trying to build this sort of master engine using cold outbound when like you don't really even have an audience or know what these people care about or haven't taken the time to really understand their problems and what they want. And from the presentation you showed us, like you've done a good job of looking at those content pillars and seeing what resonates with people and then just continuing to kind of walk down that path with them and deliver probably better and better content over time. um, we talk on here a lot about remixing content. This is something that, similar to the spacing of ideas, I think gives a lot of people heartburn when maybe they had a post a month ago, it completely crushed, and you want to sort of recycle that idea a bit. I'm curious your thoughts on remixing content, both in terms of like posts and newsletters, but also in terms of lead magnets. Like, will you grab a lead magnet from 3 months ago and keep using it, or do you try to go for a fresh one every week? Because I can imagine that's a lot of work.
I think depends on how many lead magnets I have available, but the best way to create content is to, focus on having specific content themes that you can educate on. So if you're a B2B SaaS founder, you need to be educating, storytelling, and selling within a week. And then you can repeat the same topics, but in a different angle. And I think this is where most content creators and entrepreneurs get stuck. Let's say you write the entire playbook on how to grow your business using B2B SaaS or whatever. And then you think, oh, but I already said this once. I can't say it again. No, yes, you can, but you can approach it from a different point of view or a story. So like we actually built an entire tool called Clear, which was like it's my fourth business, and it solves this specific problem because we know that people struggle with it. So you go on it, you give it all your information, and it literally creates your content plan, like your content plan for the next week if you wanted to, based on the exact same content ideas. Like for me, I literally consistently talk about the same thing, and most people are afraid of repeating themselves. But my kind of like answer to that is, how do you expect someone to remember you for one thing if you're trying to talk about multiple things at the same time? Repetition is essentially kind of like how our brains select people that we see as authorities. Like if you think about Adam, you're gonna get the exact same thing every time, but with a different like flavor that day. Maybe that day he's like ranting about something, but I know it's going to be about the topic that I'm interested in. Maybe he's gonna tell me a story about how he failed X, Y, and Z in B2B SaaS or like B2B agency. Like it is the same thing consistently. It doesn't change. The moment you start trying to do too much is where you're going to lose trust. And this is why personal brands fail, because they start getting confused as to where they're going. And so the main thing that I would suggest anyone watching this today is like, remember the thing that is the goal. So like if the goal is to scale your business, then you need to be solely speaking about your business and adjacent topics. And if you want to build your personal brand, then you need to talk about a specific topic that makes you the most useful person in the market for that thing, and then keep on adding to it through storytelling and education. So when it comes to remixing, I I do, but I don't. Like I'm not gonna take a newsletter and post it directly onto LinkedIn because that doesn't work. The formatting is going to be messed up. The hook that I would use for an email is different to the hook that I would use for a post. But what I can do is like use tools, like use different AI tools like mine, for example, or even ChatGPT or Claude, that are trained to understand LinkedIn writing and then use that as instead. Because repurposing content doesn't work. Like it is a myth. I know this better than anyone. Like I post on different social media platforms, and I would rather not post than post something that is repurposed from another platform because it doesn't work. The platforms are extremely different, especially if you look at the difference between YouTube, then Instagram, which is short form, YouTube is long form, and then LinkedIn, which is written. It's just very different ways of attaining attention.
Um, Remix, don't recycle. That's what I'm recycling would be just taking what's already been out there and trying to shove it into a newsletter or without adding some flair or making it different. And I'm glad you were very honest about the sort of like the natural anxiety of repeating yourself. Like I think we're all very sensitive to that. I think especially like there is a different tone when I hear you and Adam talk about LinkedIn or some of the other folks that we've had on here compared to somebody who's just starting out. And you have a very, it's like, God, I don't want to be vulgar here, but it's almost like this hyper calculated fuck it mentality where you're like, I'm going to make great stuff. I'm not going to worry about what other people think. I'm just going to focus on really nailing a great message in the right format for these people. And I'm just going to get it out there. I'm not going to sit here and overthink and over rotate on this one post and then leave it in a Google Sheet for 3 months. Like I'm going to get it out there. And I think that is, when I look at all the things that you do, that is definitely a testament to how you operate. That's not, that would be how somebody who starts multiple businesses like you or Adam would sort of naturally have to operate. So I just appreciate you kind of bringing that mentality here because sometimes we all need a little dose of that. So
I think
thank you.
it's more so like there's nothing to lose. Posting content on LinkedIn is free. And so when I think about my competitors that are wasting over $100,000 a month on ads, and all I need to do instead is to just write on LinkedIn and try and make it good, then 100% I'll take that. Like I literally scaled my business to over 2 million without ads. And so when someone sort of like second guesses posting, I'm like, this is the only barrier, like the only thing in between you and scaling your business organically through content on LinkedIn. Like the opportunity is insane. And I can never shut up about it. And if like the only thing, like the cost of entry is posts that may not be 100% authentic, that may be formatted in a way that you don't speak in real life, then I would take the formatted post any day.
I hear you. It's also like it is this amazing. There's a couple other things that I think are just mind-blowingly amazing about building an audience there. One is that you get to test ideas and messaging for free, like you're saying. You get to, I mean, as long as you're structuring it well and all of that, like you get to really see what your audience resonates with from a sort of like topic standpoint. And B, once you do build that audience, the trust and admiration that people have for you as sort of this like public figure within their bubble, it far outweighs any ad, any email campaign, any other marketing channel that you can run. Like when we launched RB2B, because we were really leveraging Adam's LinkedIn, we were getting a bunch of PLG signups, just like using the free product. And then we were able to talk to literally anybody that we wanted to. Our booking rate was insane. Our show rate was nearly 100%. We literally had the demand and the supply were both just insane for calls that we like literally couldn't even match it. We had like a filtering problem. Like, how do we talk to the right people? And that was its own little issue. But like just the trust and admiration. I mean, we even had some people in the chat here saying they've been long time followers of yours. I'm sure they're very excited to see you today and kind of be able to interact and ask you questions. And that's just something you're not going to build with the YouTube where they or an ad. I don't mean to focus on the channel, but so you are building in multiple different channels here, mediums, I'll say. Is there a specific channel right now that you are most excited about? LinkedIn, I'm sure, always excites you. I would be very excited too with 300,000 followers. But what sort of what are you looking forward to in terms of building where you see just this big greenfield opportunity for yourself?
LinkedIn is still the biggest goldmine opportunity that we have as founders and creators. Like the opportunity has never been bigger. As you can like literally there's two reasons why we're seeing content pop up from 2 weeks ago. Like there is not enough supply to meet the demand for people. Like LinkedIn has over 1 billion users, 1 billion with a B. Then about 2 to 3% of them post every single week. And that is ignoring the fact that whether it's good content or bad content, ChatGPT generated. And then so when you look at the statistics and you look at the data and you're like, well, on average, most people take 1,000 posts to get their first line or at least get good or like make their first million. It took me about 200 posts to make my first million. And so I there's no way like I'm never not gonna be excited about LinkedIn. It's like the blue ocean opportunity that everybody's looking for, but no one actually wants to get into because it just feels harder than any other platform. But I think if you look at my journey, for example, like I was able to build a following, then transfer it onto email lists, then transfer it onto Twitter, then transfer it onto Instagram, and transfer it again back to YouTube because I built on LinkedIn fast. I remember when I started building my Twitter audience, or X now, people recognized me from LinkedIn, and that made me grow faster. The network that LinkedIn provides you as a founder, it is par none to any other platform. Yeah, Twitter is a little bit different, but I think if you have like it is the easiest way to build a personal brand, and then that smaller personal brand will give you more advantage on other platforms and even on social settings as well. And like never like not like I'm just ignoring all the fact that like LinkedIn has the biggest amount of decision makers there. There's no one creating good content. If you already create content on Twitter, you repurpose it onto LinkedIn, it's going to do amazingly well. And lead magnets are new there. Like on Twitter, they've been overused a lot. And there's just not enough good content creators and that don't have enough skills. Like there's a lot of wannabe creators, like ghostwriters, baby agency owners, freelancers. And if you're big, like if you have some sort of like bigger skill than being a freelancer or like a newbie beginner, you literally have all it takes. You just need to start.
You just got to start. I mean, that is, I think, the ultimate signal for everyone to try to get a post out. I know I'm going to get off this call and immediately start writing. I've been slacking a little bit on LinkedIn and
Use Clio.
yeah, okay. Let's end the show there. Okay. Tell us, could you maybe share your screen? Like, let's do like a shameless little plug for Clio because I just think also like while you're pulling that up, I think it's so great the way that you have um sort of spun up these different ventures under this same sort of like a very similar mission to a similar person. And it seems like they're just getting more and more robust in terms of how they can help. And now you're in the space of AI. And would love for you to touch a little bit on sort of some of the good and bad workflows maybe that people do with AI, but I'll let you take it away.
All right, so this is my baby, my B2B SaaS. We've been featured on Starter Story in the Hackers already, and it's basically better than any ChatGPT or Claude because it's based and built upon my strategy. So we literally interviewed me to the end and then kind of like deciphered what makes good content. So basically, there's three parts: creating content. We have a swipe file of like the best and most trending content right now. We're using content from LinkedIn, Reddit, and Twitter as well because that's how we think as top creators. So the best ideas come from Reddit and Twitter. We know this. So we integrated that. And we also have a swipe file where you can save your favorite LinkedIn posts and you can see them and reference them later. So for any founder here, where I would start is I would give it a little bit of context. So I'm a founder of a B2B SaaS and have exited two businesses or whatever. Give me 10 content ideas that educate, and then we have different toggles here where you can choose, the length, the frameworks, and then, you know so you're building educational content. If you're a storyteller, you could also prompt it like that. And the biggest difference between this and let's say ChatGPT is that ChatGPT wouldn't know what education-led content really looks like on LinkedIn, but we do because this is like a LinkedIn native tool. So then, like, you would see that you get ideas that are similar but different in the way that they're written, in the tone, in the problem solving. And I always ask for 5 or 10 because what I struggle the most is blank page syndrome. Like, I don't know sometimes what to write about. Like, I even after 4 years of creating content, some days I wake up and I have no idea. And then let's say you choose one of these, and then Clio will then draft your post immediately based on the data that you give it. So at the very start, when you sign up to Clio, we put you through a very quick and short onboarding process where we learn about you, we learn about your offers, we learn about your story with very gamified questions. And then from that, we build your knowledge base. So it thinks like you, it writes better than you, but it still sounds like you, which is where AI in general misses because it either sounds robotic, it sounds generic, and it doesn't really make sense because it doesn't have enough data. But with me, um, you know, it knows that I talked about cohorts and retention, etc., and it's written this perfectly formatted post like I was speaking about earlier. And then I can choose to make it shorter. I can edit it within the line. I can also use AI to edit it within it, and it also kind of like scores my post. So if you're ever wondering why AI writes the way it does, we actually integrated some sort of like education piece so you know exactly why things are happening. And the last thing that I love about Clio is that you can actually talk to it. So make this hook more provocative, for example, and then it will edit it accordingly. So that's better. That's more my style. I lost $2 million by ignoring three metrics for my first exit. And the way it knows about me is because we have an identity section where we know everything about you, also your story. You can also add your offers and your target audience and like personal information. We've actually managed to export data directly from ChatGPT or Claude because we know a lot of our users use AI all the time. So why not make it easier for them? And the last thing I want to share, if you want to ask me some questions after, or if not, no problem. We have writing styles. So within it, we kind of like took the best content creators on the platform that people actually emulate a lot. So one of them is me. The next one is my co-founder Jake Wood, who is an SEO guy who has grown to 170,000 followers literally just talking about SEO. We have Justin Welsh, Cody Sanchez, and you can choose like, hey, I really like how Justin Welsh writes. Then from then, most of your content that you then create will immediately be formatted and in the style of Justin Welsh. But if you like how I tell stories, then you can do it. And one last thing about Clio now is that we've actually incorporated image creation. So you can actually create your own AI infographic. Because if you guys have been on LinkedIn for a bit, you guys will then kind of like be able to see that most of best LinkedIn content right now also always has an image or an infographic. And we know how expensive creating images can be, or like getting a designer. Like they range between $2,000 and $5,000 per month. Same with ghostwriters. So we're trying to beat every single ghostwriting agency by creating the all-in-one solution for content creation, so everybody can just literally start posting on LinkedIn without spending hours looking at a blank screen and struggling creating content.
This is so great. I'm gonna hop into this in about 5 minutes and start ripping through Clio. I'm sure I'm not alone here. What is the to get started? Is there like a free version? How much does it cost?
So we just launched actually. You can try it here, and it's $99 a month. And it actually doesn't just include this. We have weekly calls with our client, with our members. So there's weekly calls, and you also get a mini course as part of it. So we kind of like develop the end-to-end system to sort of like content creation. Let me show you. I'm just trying to find the course. So when you join Clio, you also get access to this course that I filmed for you guys, that literally talks you through every single fundamental of content. So you don't just have the tool, you also have the implementation and the information and the guidance. And within it, we didn't stop there. You also get a community as well with challenges and resources and the weekly calls, etc. And we're planning to just keep on scaling this as much as we can. We want this to be like the tool that I wish I had when I started as a creator. This is the infographic that Cleo just created me, by the way. So literally just no prompting. If I was to prompt it again, it could make it better. But this is just like the first draft. And as you get better, you have more information. Maybe you have a reference photo that you want to use. That's what it would create.
This is wild. I have a feeling you are going to blow up with this. Would love to have you back as we start seeing Clio all over the place. We'll make sure Adam's here for that next time. Let's end it with this last question. This was dropped into the comments. Let me just scroll up to it. I'm sorry. So someone said, don't want to have a personal brand based on LinkedIn profile for a client that's in medical devices. Okay. So we're basically talking about somebody who is afraid to post from their personal profile. They said, any tips on a good company profile or around a topic? I have a feeling I know what you're about to say. So drop it.
My okay, let me just give you some data. Personal brands from a personal profile get between 45 to 65 more reach than a company page. So I think that when you're trying to build a company page, you're doing it in hard mode, because you're just reducing your chances of being seen. Because what is the likelihood of someone reacting to a Lara Acosta post versus a literally Academy post or like a Clio post? People want to buy from people today. That's just like well known. So my feedback would be, you don't need to be personal in order to build a personal brand. And my co-founder is the best example of this. So my co-founder Jake Wood, we have completely different ways and methods of building a personal brand. Jake literally never shows his face unless I force him to, because I want me in his content because I'm his co-founder. But he's built his audience based on education fast content. The only time people have seen his face is literally his profile photo that he changed once. And everything else is literally infographics, is education. All of these posts are also written by Cleo, by the way. And literally no photos, no storytelling, no selfies, nothing. Just either a Twitter screenshot, a case study, etc. So I think that if you are scared of being seen, or you just don't, you want to be invisible, you can still build a personal brand based on education. Just make sure that the topics of education are like, you are specific enough, but also clear enough, so you can educate an audience that may not know about what you're selling, but is interested. So this is why Clio helps, and like overall just learning basic writing of like, always write to a fifth grade level standard, know how to master the hook, and then the rest takes care of itself.
So don't be afraid, folks. Just start posting. Use Clio. Check it out. Get your first post out there. Brush off the anxiety behind it, and get out there, Lara. I mean, come on, that was amazing. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
showing up.
much.
This was
Thank you so much
awesome.
for
We would
having
love
me.
to have you back. We're rooting for you. I'm going to start using Clio as soon as we hop off here.
I'll be back when we exit the business in like 3 years.
There we go. I would love to hear. That's right. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining. Thank you all for tuning in. Next week, we have Peter Walker, head of insights at Carta. He's a data storyteller. So we're excited for that. He's a top voice on LinkedIn, although Lara, he only has 160,000 followers. I mean, come on, what's this guy doing? I mean, jeez.
Tell him to use Clio.
Yeah, there we go. Well, hey, everybody, have a lovely week. Lara, thanks again. Take care, everybody.
Anytime.
We'll see
Thank
you
you
soon.
guys. Nice to see you guys. Bye.